Children need boundaries, and if you've read any of the articles written by our children's technology development and learning expert, Dr. Christy Goodwin, you'll have heard her talk about boundaries in the context of balancing green time with screen time. But let's face it, we don't always want to be playing bad cop, or at least most of us don't want to be. So what we need is some strategies for enforcing boundaries without rupturing that relationship with our children. And I'm joined by Penny Gibson. Penny is our relationships and behaviour expert. Penny, what strategies can we use as mums to enforce boundaries but without rupturing that relationship and always playing the bad cop?
You're right, children do need boundaries, and there is a way to make sure your relationship is still on track even though you are playing the bad cop. So the first strategy I have is to trust in the relationship and the bond that you have with your child to withstand the negativity that comes with enforcing boundaries. So some parents might want to be their child's best friend all the time, but that's just not possible, especially if you want to enforce boundaries, and children do need those boundaries around them to thrive. So you just need to move on from the fact that there will be some negative moments and you will still thrive in your relationship. The second strategy I have is to give some warnings to your child if you are trying to set some limits around their activities. So like Christy Goodwin might have mentioned, it's about setting limits for how much time they spend on their screen. So you might want to use a timer so that there's no room for negotiation when the time is up and you move on to the next activity. Or if you're at the park and you need to leave, make sure you give some warnings to your child so that it's not sprung on them when you need to exit. So you might say 5 more minutes, or given kids don't really understand time, it might be to say 1 more turn on the swing or have a go on any equipment you haven't used yet so that they can prepare themselves. The third strategy I have is to follow through. So you need to be the boss, and that might mean saying no maybe 5, 10, 20 times, but repetition is the key, and they'll learn from repeated experiences if you enforce that you are the boss and that you are dictating what's going on. Being consistent is key, because they'll learn that if you give in now and again, they'll keep trying to push you until you give in each time. So it's important that you know that you're in charge and you get to dictate where you go to next and what activities or schedule you want your child to conform to. The fourth strategy I have is that it's really important that all the people in your child's life are on board, so that there's consistency across the settings and their relationships. So it might be that you need to share that you're enforcing some new boundaries in the relationship with your parents if they're looking after your kids, with the babysitters, with childcare workers, whatever it is that will help the learning process, because you need to be mentally prepared to enforce change. And you need to make sure you've got the right supports around you to make sure that that's as smooth as possible.
Thank you so much for those strategies, Penny. If you'd like to get in touch with Penny Gibson, she's a child and family therapeutics specialist. She's also the co-founder of Capacity Consulting and Coaching. Thank you so much, Penny, for making our lives as mums just that little bit easier.